On January 13th, Julian Sands was reported missing after he set out to hike the San Bernardino County-area mountain with one mission: climb Mount Baldy. Months and months went by. Multiple searches resulted in nothing. Everyone knew what this meant. We had lost an amazing individual. But how could this happen? Sands was an avid hiker and had climbed mountains his whole life, so how could this routine trip turn out into a disaster? The actor's disappearance drew international attention, with relatives and friends speaking out about their relationship with Sands. This happened just months after he discussed the dangers of hiking in an interview, in which he said some scary stuff that will make you think twice before you're going into the wilderness alone. "I found spooky things on mountains. When you know you're in a place where many people have lost their lives, whether it be on the Eiger or in the Andes, you may be confronted with human remains, and that can be chilling," Sands said. "Pals I used to climb with have stopped going to the mountains," he continued. "If you don't really have the desire, the focus for climbing a route, if you're not absolutely committed, it becomes much more dangerous." Julian was reported missing after he set out to hike the San Bernardino County-area mountain in the region near Mount Baldy, around 7:30 p.m. on Friday, January 13th, by his wife, according to Corporal Nathan Campos of the San Bernardino County Sheriff Department. The initial search workers were pulled out of the region after only one day owing to severe weather, an issue that remained in the search for the English actor for months. In the days following Sands' disappearance, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department warned in a Facebook post that the weather on the mountain was adverse and extremely dangerous due to high winds, severe storms across the state, and multiple fatalities of other hikers on the mountain. 11 days after the actor vanished, the department issued a statement on Twitter stating that it will continue to utilize the resources at its disposal. Following his disappearance, the Sands family expressed gratitude to the search efforts. Along with the January 23, 2023 update, the department issued a message from Sands' family, who expressed appreciation to the heroic search teams who continued to help in the hunt for the missing actor. "We are deeply touched by the outpouring of love and support," said the statement. "Our heartfelt thanks to the compassionate members of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department who are coordinating the search for our beloved Julian." On February 10th, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department Public Relations Officer Gloria Huerta told that, "We remain hopeful, but know the outcome may not be what we would like," about continued searches for the actor. Searches for the actor's whereabouts lasted more than 5 months after he went missing and were hampered by severe weather across the region at the time. And after those 5 months, we finally got closure, as the San Fernando Sheriff's Department verified that the human remains discovered by hikers in June 2023 were Sands. The San Bernardino County Sheriff Coroner Department said in a statement, "The identification process for the body found on Mount Baldy on June 24, 2023 has been completed and was positively identified as 65-year-old Julian Sands of North Hollywood. The manner of death is still under investigation, pending further test results. We would like to extend our gratitude to all the volunteers that worked tirelessly to try to locate Mr. Sands." The next month, Sands' death was labeled undetermined, a decision that, according to a public relations officer for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, is common when dealing with cases of this type. And the hikers who discovered the remains of Julian Sands on Mount Baldy in Los Angeles in June have talked about the hike for the first time. When the group of local hikers set out in June to ascend Mount Baldy via a difficult and seldom visited canyon, their organizer had one thought in the back of her mind: "I hope we don't find a dead body today." She and her companions, like most of the climbing community in Los Angeles, had been following the story of British actor Julian Sands' disappearance on the peak in January. They were aware that previous searches by officials, including one only a week before, with helicopters flying above and 80 people combing the rugged terrain, had yielded no results. They also knew that Sands' last known cell phone ping had placed him on an ice ridge under the top, where an unintentional step could have sent him tumbling uncontrollable into the lonely canyon they were about to enter. So the hikers weren't entirely taken aback when, 3 hours into their journey on June 24th, one of them noticed a boot. A few yards up the slope, they discovered another boot. Then there were the hiking poles, and a few bones. They came across a pile of black winter garments nearby. They discovered a wallet containing a driver's license in one of the pockets. The chiseled, angular face looking back at them was all too familiar, and the name cleared up any doubts: Julian Richard Sands. "It was surreal," one of the trekkers, Bill Dwyer, said. Since 2020, there have been well over 100 searches for missing hikers, with at least 7 documented fatalities, making Baldy one of the most dangerous mountains in the country. Sands, 65, an experienced climber, died there and went missing for a long time, demonstrating how harsh and brutal the mountain can be. After Sands went missing on January 13th, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department began 8 searches for him, using both air and ground crews. They invested over 500 hours and nearly $100,000. The weather was their biggest challenge. When Sands went missing, there was already plenty of snow and avalanche danger on the mountain, and in the days and weeks that followed, a seemingly unending sequence of big storms poured in, burying the area and anybody stranded in it under mountains of snow. The would-be rescuers understood that Good Canyon, where Sands' remains were finally discovered, was a logical destination for him. According to the Sheriff's Department, the last recorded ping from his phone came from a ridge on the Baldy Bowl route. A fall from there, or simply losing the snow-covered trail and becoming disoriented, would have most likely led him in one of 2 directions: into the Baldy Bowl, a popular winter climbing destination where others would have found him quickly, or into Good Canyon, where no one would have found him. During the large search in June, after the majority of the snow had melted, one party descended Good Canyon from the top, and another began ascending from the bottom. They ran out of daylight, however, and neither squad made it to the middle area, where the hikers discovered Sands' remains a few days later. "It was just one of those things," explained Newland. "They might have found him if they had gone another 600 feet down." However, this is not always the case. Even hikers who came upon Sands' bones were taken aback by how perfectly they fit into the scenery. After approximately 12 hours of crawling over rocks, trekking up loose gravel slopes, and bushwhacking through deep undergrowth, they arrived at a level location at 8,400 feet. They fanned out in search of the least resistance passage through the manzanita. Because the undergrowth was so dense, the organizer stated she went right past the first boot. It was initially noticed by a hiker a few paces behind. It's unclear exactly how or when Sands died. The Sheriff's Department has said that the cause of death is undetermined due to the state of the remains. The entire autopsy report has yet to be made public. Trying to climb out of Good Canyon, up high slopes coated in snow and ice, would have been a grueling task if Sands got disoriented or survived an initial fall without major damage. Escape could have been impossible if he had been seriously hurt. It's also unknown how Sands' body ended up in that flat place. According to the hikers, the bones were strewn by wild animals. However, it's conceivable that his corpse was forced down the mountain by avalanche or slid downward with melting snow. The hikers did not discover a backpack, which might have held much of the equipment he would have need. But the hikers, most of whom were seasoned mountaineers, were as worried by what they didn't see as by what they saw. For example, all of the clothes they discovered was black, with nothing bright, red, or yellow that would have made it easier to detect him from the air. He was dressed like a ninja, one of the trekkers said. A pair of microspikes were strapped to one of Sands' boots. These are little metal cleats that are about a 1/4 inch long and may be connected to nearly any type of footwear. They're simple to put on and take off, and they're ideal for snowy routes that aren't too steep. But pathways don't exist on snow-covered slopes, and Sands was climbing steep, treacherous terrain where a little slip may quickly turn into a devastating collapse. Crampons, long heavy spikes that connect to robust climbing boots and dig deep into snow and ice to avoid potentially lethal falls, are no replacement in such instances. "I was a little shocked to see the microspikes," Dwyer remarked. "They were just the wrong tools for the job at hand." There was no evidence of a helmet or an ice axe, a dangerous-looking instrument used by winter mountaineers to plant themselves in the snow and stop themselves if they start to fall. Sands was carrying his iPhone, which was set on a rock beneath a tree. However, most of Mount Baldy had no service, and the hikers were unable to locate a signal in the location where they discovered Sands' remains. They found no evidence that Sands, who was traveling alone, had another method to seek assistance. Dwyer used his satellite messaging device to transmit an SOS to police after discovering the remains. They replied within 8 minutes, and quickly after that, the world now knew for certain that Julian Sands was gone.